I often find myself more impressed not by the way an anime can convey emotions through battle scenes, but how they're expressed through moments. And not just any moments, but those of immense growth. Now don't get me wrong, I'm always down to watch a good old brawl, but these moments I'm talking about always seem to connect to me more on a deeper level than any fight scene ever has. I'm going to talk about a few moments that perfectly exemplify the feeling that I'm talking about. So without further ado, let's get to it. First off is the amazing pirate adventure known as One Piece, and the scene I'll be talking about is the one from the Sabaody Archipelago arc, where Luffy punches a celestial dragon. I guess in a sense it can technically be considered a fight scene since Luffy punched him, but it's so much more than that when you peel back the layers of it. During this arc, we learn about the celestial dragons and how in the One Piece world, they are royalty and basically seen as gods, and to defy one would mean to bring down the full force of the Marines upon yourself. After seeing how the celestial dragons treat people, it takes everything in Luffy's power to stand by and just watch, but after witnessing their behavior at the slave auction, he can no longer hold back. After an emotional outburst, one of the celestial dragons engages Luffy and proceeds to disrespect him. It's after this exchange that Luffy hits him with a punch for the ages. Luffy puts all his force into the punch, which is shown in slow motion, which allows us as a viewer to see the reactions of everyone else in the auction house. At the same time, the animation changes from the typical colorful aesthetic that One Piece is usually known for to that of a black and white palette, similar to that of a manga panel. This quick shift in the color palette and the slower pace of the punch itself allows the viewer to truly feel not only the weight of Luffy's punch, but of the consequences that will come of it. After he punches him, we're giving a second to pause and breathe, which allows us to understand completely what Luffy has just done. And let me tell you, the Straw Hats get hell brought down upon them, but it comes with the territory because doing the right thing always comes at a price. If anything, I think the reason this scene resonates with me so much is because it alludes to the more important concepts of One Piece, whether it's dealing with oppression, tyrannical leaders, corrupt governments, but most importantly, freedom. You see, Luffy and the Straw Hats as a whole are the physical representation of this freedom, to live life how you see fit, to defy social norms, and to fight the system. Their ideals not only synonymous with pirate lore, but also with humans as well, as we constantly strive to live the life we want regardless of what society thinks. Next up is the scene from part 1 of Naruto. The scene that clicked with me is when Naruto is able to successfully use the Rasengan in battle. Throughout the story, Naruto is constantly shown to be the series' main underdog. Whether it's learning techniques, winning fights, or earning the respect of rivals, Naruto is constantly having to work just as hard, if not more than his classmates, just to stand a chance. And learning the Rasengan was no different. The Rasengan is an A-rank technique that was developed by the 4th Hokage. Jiraiya teaches this move to Naruto on their trip together to go locate one of the legendary Sannin named Tsunade and convince her to become the 5th Hokage. Their initial encounter ends in a confrontation with Naruto attempting to use a Rasengan, but ultimately failing. She belittles Naruto for striving to become Hokage, saying that it is a fool's dream and that all the past Hokages wasted their lives for the village for nothing. She sees Naruto as a no-talent fool, the complete opposite of the genius that was the 4th Hokage, and therefore she finds it impossible for Naruto to complete the Rasengan. They then make a wager about whether or not he can finish it. Later in the arc, they get into an altercation with Orochimaru, and Naruto is left to handle Kabuto in a one-on-one fight. Even though he hadn't mastered the Rasengan, he still jumped in to fight regardless of this disadvantage. But through persistence, he masters it mid-fight and uses it to defeat Kabuto. The reason this moment clicked for me was because it perfectly exemplifies an individual's ability to achieve greater things when faced with adversity. You know, their ability to rise to the occasion. It's very similar to the whole concept of a person running faster when they're racing someone as opposed to running by themselves. You see, humans feed off of competition because it forces us to grow and become stronger. In Naruto's case, in the first episode, he says he wants to become Hokage, regardless of how many people laugh in his face or say that he can't achieve it. In the series, Naruto always seems to be at his best when others are doubting him. He always has this chip on his shoulder which causes him to go harder at things that others wouldn't. Mastering the Rasengan was a grueling task that took a lot out of him, but helped to lay down the foundation for techniques that he would later learn down the line in the series, and also helps him to become the Hokage. Next up is a moment from My Hero Academia, specifically the moment when Deku finishes All Might's summer training course and clears the beach. In the My Hero Academia world, nothing is always fair and easy. I mean, Deku kinda lays that out for us in the first episode.
Here's the sad truth. All men are not created equal. When I was 4 years old, I learned that some kids have more power than others.
Unfortunately, Deku ends up with the short end of the stick due to the fact that he's in the 20% of people that are born without a quirk, but that doesn't stop him from still trying to become a hero. But his entire destiny changes when he first meets All Might. Even though initially at first All Might crushes his dream and tells him the sad truth that without a quirk he'll never be able to become a hero, but after seeing Deku jump in to save Bakugo from the sludge monster without hesitation, decides to pass down All for One to him. Now All Might brings him to the beach filled with trash and tells him this is where they will train for the summer to get him ready for the UA entrance exam. At the end of the summer, Midoriya is able to clear the beach, but it's that moment that really gets to me. In my opinion, the trash on the beach was meant to represent all the obstacles in Deku's way just to get to the starting line of trying to become a hero. As he trains over the weeks, he slowly removes the trash, piece by piece, showing that he's slowly reaching to the starting line until finally it's all gone. Then the sun shines on Deku to show us that the path is finally clear for him to try to achieve his dream. He has reached the starting line. We are also able to see the physical changes in Deku's body. He's more muscular, but we also see all the bumps and bruises over his body as well to show us that this was no easy task. Only someone really dedicated could have done this. The sigh of relief on his face, that of one who has just achieved something great. We're given a moment to bask in this achievement with Deku, and he breathes and takes in the sunlight. The sunlight foreshadowing a bright future ahead. The last moment that really hit is one from the sports manga Haikyuu, and the scene involves a character named Shukizima, otherwise known as Suki. Haikyuu is a story not just about the sport volleyball, but also about the stories of each characters and their relationship with their allies and opponents. Whether it's Karasuno or one of its many rivals, I always found myself actually caring very deeply for all the characters we were introduced to due to the time the author took to develop each one, and Suki is a perfect example of that. If you've ever been on a sports team with a player that had all the right attributes to succeed at the sport, but never quite put all their passion into it, then you've met Suki before. Antisocial, condescending, quiet, calculating, and blunt, which basically equals to him having a very antagonistic personality. Even though he's on the team, we're never really given a reason why. I mean, sure, he's tall, but he's shown absolutely no passion for the game. Like he's just there to be there, or just there to have something to do to help pass the time. It's not until the second season that we're given the reason behind his whole grim outlook on volleyball, seeing his brother get heartbroken by it. Suki's initial interest for the game came from him seeing his brother play the sport. His brother played on the same team as the Little Giant, aka the Karasuno of old, and Suki is put under the impression that his brother is the ace in the team. But when he finally gets a chance to go to one of Karasuno's games, he sees that not only isn't he the ace, but he doesn't even start. He comes off the bench, and after seeing this, Suki decides not to put any effort into volleyball. Why put your passion into something that no matter how hard you work at, other people will still be better than you? Some individuals, or as Suki likes to call them, monsters, are just born gifted and better than others. This event is a catalyst for him developing his nihilistic view of the world and his antagonistic nature, but a shift in his view and perspective begins during season 2 of the series, during the summer training camp arc, when he's introduced to Bokudo, the ace of Fukurodani Academy. During one of the nights at the camp, Bokudo and Koro invite him to practice with them, and initially he declines, but after some bait comments, changes his mind, and it's during this practice session that Bokudo not only questions Suki's drive, but also explains his own personal attachment to volleyball and why he loves it so much.
Who cares about the future? As long as you have a chance at winning the next game, nothing else really matters, does it? You get hooked on the rush of beating the guy in front of you. Playing with 120% of your skill. There's nothing better.
We don't see the seeds that Bokudo plants into Shukizima sprout until season 3, during Karasuno's match against Shishizora Academy, when he blocks one of their ace's spikes. From the beginning of the match, we notice Shukizima picking up on not only the little tendencies, but also the subtle nuances of Shichizora's game, and it all comes together when he performs his block. Everything from the background music to the noise of the crowd goes silent as Shukizima questions his emotions in that moment. The silence also allows not only Suki, but all of the viewers to bask in what he's just accomplished. And it all comes to a boil with the thunderous yell he screams, signifying not just his growth, but him finding his love for volleyball.
However, if that moment ever does come to you, that's the moment you'll fall in love with volleyball.
If you look back to its early beginnings to now, anime has become a global phenomenon. And I believe the biggest reason for that is not just because of their vastly diverse and memorable characters, but also because of their heart. With each manga panel I read and each episode of anime I watched, I slowly but surely got introduced to new anime figures and became more and more engulfed in their world. It's because of this heart that these characters represent more. They feel like real people that could easily be your family, friends, comrades, and rivals. At the center of each of these moments was that heart, and it's that heart that allows moments like these to align with me. I'm sure you all have your own moments in anime history that connected with you in a special way, or maybe you have points to add to my moments. Either way, I would love to hear about it. Also, I'm kind of a small growing channel here on YouTube, so if you really like my content, I would really appreciate you guys liking and sharing my videos. So feel free to comment below, and until next time, stay wavy.